Hey guys, welcome in this new video. I hope that all of you are doing great. In today's video, we are continuing on the trade breakdown series with a very good trade on New Zealand dollar. So just before I start, as always, if you are not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do that so that way you are sure to not miss any new videos coming out. Alright, so as I said, today we will take a look at a trade on NZDUSD, which ended up being a very good trade. So first of all, here is the profit that I posted on Instagram. If you guys follow me there, well, you saw the evolution of that trade and how everything basically took place. I did many updates of that trades simply because I've actually been in that trade for over 2 weeks. So it was a mid-term trade, I would say. So not very short-term trade and also not very long-term trade, at least in terms of how I see it. So it was more of a mid-term trade and it ended up, well, as you saw, as a pretty good trade. So let's actually jump on the chart right now. Let's not waste more time and take a look at this trade setup. Okay, so we are now on my chart. Let's take a look at this NZD/USD trade. So as always, I will show you guys everything about the trade. So we will start with the overall view of the market and the analysis on the higher time frame, and then we will go into the lower time frame and I will show you guys the entry, the stop, the target, and all of those things. Just before I start, as you guys know, well, those videos are free. I do them to help people who are getting started in trading to, just understand a little more about how we trade and how we look at charts. But if you would like to go further with your understanding and start working with us, learn with us, and just join our trading group, well, make sure you check out the first link in the description box below, and it will bring you over to my website, which is my trading course, and there you will find all the information about how you can join us. So let's actually get into the trade now and look at the setup. So first of all, let's go on the higher time frame, as I said. So on NZDUSD, so the trade was a pretty good trade. I took the trade around those level and I closed it today. So you will see that when we go on the lower time frame. But I think I made 4.5%. If I don't mistaken, I think that was the result of that trade. Now, as I said, that was a pretty good trade. As you can see right now on NZDUSD, well, we have this move up, we have a move down, and we have been trading in that zone for quite some times. Now, I think that we are actually making a much bigger pattern in that zone, and it could stay there for many weeks and even few months, I think, depending on what pattern it makes. But it could develop actually being, I think, a pretty good and pretty huge pattern if we compare it, for example, with the impulsive move that we have here. So that's the view that I have right now on the higher time frame, which is the reason why all of my trades on New Zealand dollar will be more short or midterm. And the reason why, well, it's because if we are trading in that big zone here on the daily, well, all my trades will be according to that zone, and because of that, well, they will be more short or midterm trade, which is what it ended up being for this one. So when we go on the lower time frame, the trade setup was actually within this part here of the bigger pattern. Now, if we look closely at this part, what we can see is that we actually have an impulse. We have 1, 2, 3. Now, we know that when we have those type of formation on the market, we can eventually see one more downside here to complete another pattern within the bigger pattern, right? Remember that we are trading in a much bigger pattern on the daily, which is something that is important to know. Now, this is the setup that I was looking for, meaning as soon as it was breaking this level, I was starting to look for a downside. Now, when we go on the lower time frame, this is where the trade actually happened. So my first trade, and I don't know why I say first, because that was the only trade that I took for the downside, it was actually here. So you guys see that I've been in that trade now for quite some times. I've stayed the whole way down here, as I said, for about 2 weeks. So that was the initial, I think we say it that way. So that was the initial entry here for the trade. That was a short, obviously, that was a sell. So that was the entry. The stop was above this level here. Now, there were many reasons why I decided to place it here and not, for example, here above this one. And one of the main reasons why is because if this was going to break this level, well, the possibility of this going higher and even breaking this level were very, very high. And so because of that, I decided to use this stop because it would give me a better risk to reward ratio. And even if I had put this stop and let's say it had broken this level, well, it would have probably also go and take me out with a loss. So at the end, I'm not like missing anything. I'm just increasing my risk to reward ratio by doing that. And it's a very good thing. Now, this is a more advanced trick that, you know, I don't think that a lot of beginners can use that because it doesn't work in all situations. It really depends on the setups and what the chart is actually doing to be able to tell if that is a possibility to do or not. So it's, you know, it's important to be careful with that, but it's a pretty good trick and little tips if you actually know how to apply it. Now, after that, when I took this trade, I was initially just waiting for, you know, a smaller correction here and then the downside. It actually ended up making a little bigger correction, which, you know, no problem. It went pretty close to my stop loss actually because my stop was around those levels. So we went pretty close to my stop. However, I've been able to just stay patient and keep the trade, right? And if you follow me on either Instagram or Facebook or even just YouTube, you see that I'm always talking about patience, right? Patience is super important. It's essential. Like, we cannot even say it enough, but patience is so important. As a trader, you must be patient, right? It's like one of the main rules that you need to never break. Now, this is what I did with that trade. I stayed patient even though the correction took few days to actually complete before seeing the downside. I remained in that trade, and many people here in those situations will panic. Many people, they will see that, you know, the price is getting closer and closer to their stop loss, and they will remove the trade for no specific reason because of their emotions, right? That's something that we often see happening, and that's the reason why it's really important to trade without emotions and being patient at the same time. Anyway, so this is what we got here. We got a much bigger correction, and we got after that the first downside. Then after the first downside, we got this other correction. We got another more downside. Now, I started looking for a potential reversal. I was actually hoping it would get a little lower. And there is still that possibility, by the way. We could still see some more downside depending on what structure we make now. I may even take back the trade if I have a good trade setup, but I think more downside is still possible even if I took out my trade, which I will show you later. But basically, we got the downside here, and I started looking for a reversal around those levels right here. It actually made the upside a little before reaching the levels I was looking for, which is not a problem because I still ended up closing the trade around those levels, right? So it's not very far from where I was looking, and that was still a pretty good exit for the trade. I was even from this point, I'm not supposed to say that here in those free YouTube videos, but I'll still say it just to give you guys, you know, some more value, and hopefully that it will help you. But I was actually looking for a buy around those levels to come back up here. Now that's all I'll say because I could go obviously a lot deeper and show you guys everything, but of course I need to keep a lot of things for my students. They are always my top priority. But yeah, I was looking for a upside. We actually were looking to take this trade in our trading group, but we never got any confirmation for the upside, so we ended up just not taking the trade and waiting to see what it was going to happen. Now, as I said, I think we could still get some downside. If we do, I would not be surprised that we go and break this level right here. That's the main, or it's not a necessity that it breaks, but I'm looking to exit the trade if I get back into it around those levels, or maybe even a little lower. In that zone would be also a possibility, or even this one. Now, I don't think that it will reach this one because it's not the pattern that I'm looking at currently, but it's not impossible, put it that way. So those are the main scenarios that I'm looking for now. But yeah, we basically saw everything about the trade. So that was the entry, the stop, and I got out of the trade around here today. So overall, that was a pretty good trade, right? Because if you see, well, that was the risk and that was the reward. So you can see just by the size that it was a very good trade setup, and it actually ended up being a pretty good trade. So that is pretty much it when it comes to the trade. As I said, that was more of a short or midterm trade, and it ended up being a midterm trade because that's not a very aggressive drop, right? The difference between the short term and the midterm in that situation was the speed of the drop. For example, here you see that it went very, very fast, but it's different here, right? It's a different structural wave that we're actually getting there versus this one if we compare both of them. So I'll not go further into that, but you see here, I think just by looking at it, that it's very different from this one, right? So that's basically the point here that I'm making. Anyway, so that was the trade breakdown for New Zealand dollar. We saw everything when it comes to either the entry, the stop, the target, the analysis, and all of that. So that was the trade breakdown for New Zealand dollar. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope that it helped you and that you learned something from it. If you did, please share this video around you. I would truly appreciate it, and that way you will also help, well, other traders that may also learn a few things here and there in those videos. Alright, so thank you so much. Once again, take care, trade with care, manage your money well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.